welcome back to my channel. As we approach the 2025-2026 season and the schedules have came out and people look at it, see what teams are coming to town, a lot of people have noticed a big old hole in the month of February of 2 weeks where there is nothing. And that's because the Olympics are going to be happening then. And since it's the Olympics, Canada especially has some decisions to make regarding the roster. And today, Canada, or Hockey Canada, released a roster of 42 people who will be going to a camp, and their selection committee will take a look at who's at that camp and make a decision for who they want on the team. So I thought I would talk about 26 of those 42 that I think are of note and that could potentially make the team. However, before we go to the potentialities, we'll start with the 6 who were already confirmed to be on the roster. A few months ago, each team in the Olympics had to announce 6 players to their Olympic teams. A little unusual, but because the NHL is allowing their players back to the Olympics, that was one of the things that they wanted for some reason or another. And so the 6 who were confirmed to go for Canada: Sidney Crosby, Nathan MacKinnon, Brayden Point, Cale Makar, Sam Reinhart, and Connor McDavid. So we can all agree, all good players, all 100-point guys, all, no one's like, hey, no. So those are the 6 who are already confirmed to be going. So that brings me to the first category of guys. I have certain guys in different categories for just simplicity's sake, so I'm not going all over the place. First, the first category I'm going to talk about is the young guys. The guys who were like 23 or 24 and under and could potentially make the team depending on how things all shake out and if they have a good camp with Team Canada coming up and they have a good start to their season. So, first, Connor Bedard. No surprises there. Calder winner in 2024. Say what you want about his playing styles and all that kind of fun stuff, but no one can deny the talent that the kid has. It's just unfortunate that he is in such a situation in Chicago where he's been with a whole roster of line mates and then plus some. So, and then we have Macklin Celebrini, who a lot of people are doubting to be a little bit more better than Bedard, but I'm not here to speculate on that. Then Quinton Byfield, who has sneakily been pretty good for LA. LA is kind of like, I don't hate them, and they've got some great young players coming up. So Quinton Byfield, welcome to the fold. Then Wyatt Johnston, he has exceeded a lot of expectations. He's been in the NHL for 3 seasons, and in those 3 seasons hasn't missed a single game, which is impressive considering the fact that he came into the league when he was 19, and then the whole thing of like, oh, the elite goal scorer Wyatt Johnston, and oh my word, he's only 19. So not surprised for me that he gets an invite to at least a camp. Then we have Seth Jarvis, who was invited to he was invited to go to 4 Nations this past season. And was pretty good for Canada in that tournament. I don't know if I think he got like 2 assists. So good for him for getting himself known to Hockey Canada, where they are inviting him to these events. Now, I'm gonna go from the spectrum of young all the way to the vets, the older guys. I got a few for this. First, John Tavares of Toronto Maple Leafs. I've talked about him a few times on this channel. And yeah, he just took a hometown discount to stay in Toronto. He was on that 2014 Olympic roster. So looking for him to get another shot at being a Canadian Olympian. Then Drew Doughty, who I'm pretty sure was also on that 2014 team. These guys, it's like iffy if they're going to be in or not. Granted, also Sidney Crosby is up there in age. However, Drew Doughty, he was in Four Nations and he was a bottom pairing type of guy. So we'll see what happens with him and see if he makes any sort of case for him to be on the roster. But he's a good Canadian defenseman, and Canada little bit iffy on defenseman. Goalie is a whole other situation. I'll get to that. Then Brad Marchand, he had a pretty good Four Nations. Him and Bennett was like, the fact that I could cheer for those two was fun. Then Mark Stone, who has been a little bit iffy on his health in the last few seasons, and people have their speculations, but I think he ends up getting cut for this upcoming team because, I don't know, just the way that Canada was at the Four Nations, they were more of like speed focused, and Mark Stone doesn't necessarily have the speed. He definitely has like the puck handling and all that kind of stuff. However, I can't really see him making the team, but good for him to make it to camp. And if he makes any sort of noise, well then I would allow him on the team, because if you're doing good, I want you on the team. Next, Zach Hyman, or we'll do these two together, Zach Hyman and Ryan Nugent-Hopkins, both Edmonton Oilers. Nugent-Hopkins, I forget, has been in the league for like a decade. He's definitely, I would say he's one of like, he's a little bit underrated for who he is and what kind of value he provides to a team. And Zach Hyman, call him a McDavid, Tappan merchant, but the fact that he can get himself into those areas around the net, that's sometimes what you need. And just in tight games or something, a Gracie goal could be the difference between you winning and losing a medal. So good for all of these guys for getting on Canada's radar, and all these guys have represented Canada at some point in their hockey careers, I'm pretty sure. Like, they're kind of known to Hockey Canada, so there isn't anyone so far when I was looking at the roster that I'm like, oh, hold up, this guy wasn't invited. So let me know down in the comments if there's someone that you think like, oh, why wasn't this person invited? Because I don't know everyone. I don't know if there's someone who made a difference last season in their team that is just not on my radar. So let me know down in the comments. Next, I'm going to talk about some guys who are in their prime or just good, and I didn't necessarily have a spot to put them. So, Mitch Marner, he was pretty good for Canada in that Four Nations. He was the primary assist on the game-winning goal against the United States. So, he's looking to get on that Olympic team. And I think that what the Four Nations did was help the selection committee for all of the countries who were involved in Four Nations, just to see who they have and to see if there's some upsets that will be had in the roster picking. Then Nick Suzuki, who has had a rocky relationship with Hockey Canada. He's been invited to a few world championships, but has declined the invites, and Hockey Canada likes to hold on to their grudges. So the fact that he's getting invited to camp, I think that there would have been a whole riot and coup happening in Montreal if he wasn't invited. So I believe that there is a world where Nick Suzuki makes the team, and he's a captain. I am heavily biased because I am a Montreal Canadiens fan, so good for him for getting the invite, and I hope to see him on the roster. Then Thomas Harley, who I'm pretty sure it was him who was injured for Dallas a lot last season. So, and he's young-ish, so good for him. Then Noah Dobson, who the Montreal Canadiens just picked up from the Islanders. He's a good offensive defenseman. One thing with defensemen, though, is that there is going to be some good offensive defensemen, I feel, that are going to be left off the roster just because you need to have a balance. You can't have so many offensive defensemen and not have at least 2 stay-at-home defensemen. So good for him for getting the invite. However, I am a little bit iffy of if he will actually make the team. And once again, this is just a camp. This is just for Hockey Canada to see who is doing good, who they want. So I wouldn't put too much value into some of the decisions right now. However, you can put more value into the decisions as the season moves along and stuff like that. Now, I'm going to talk about 2 guys who are physical, and I called it mind messers. I gotta find a better title, but that's what we're going to go with right now. There's 2 guys, Tom Wilson and Sam Bennett. Now, do I think that Tom Wilson especially will make the team? I lean more on the side of no. However, you need people to mess with people sometimes. You need someone to throw a big hit or get physical with guys to help their team. So Wilson is not afraid to get into it. Everyone saw the fight that he had with Josh Anderson on the bench this past playoffs. So that is good for him. Then Sam Bennett, he's just a rat, but he was on the Four Nations roster, so clearly he has shown that he has got some sort of value. So good for these 2 for getting the invite, and we'll see what direction Canada goes. Do they go towards more of skill and speed, or do they incorporate some of the more physical and more ratty guys into their lineup to help impose their physicality onto the opposition. Last group I'm going to talk about is the goalies. And they are rocking with the same 3 goalies that they rocked with at the Four Nations. Jordan Binnington, Adin Hill, and Samuel Montembeault. I am surprised that they went with Montembeault instead of Logan Thompson. I think a little bit of people are. But as I said before, it's a camp. Season hasn't started, so things could change and people could show what they're worth. So goaltending's has been iffy for Canada the last few years, not just on the international stage, but also just with the goalie system. However, there are a few goalies who have been drafted in the past few drafts that I am confident in that will make Canada better at tending the goal. So that is my not breakdown, but more so my thoughts on some of the guys who were invited and some of my highlighted people who were invited. And yeah, so that is going to be the video. Like it, comment, subscribe. Let me know what you think about the camp invite list. And do you think that there is anyone snubbed? I want to know. So let me know, and I will see you in the next one.